All right, so yeah, this is a topic that I don't typically talk about on this channel. I try to keep things a bit more light-hearted, talk about the geeky stuff, movies, video games, that whole thing. Um, but I feel like I'm at a point where I have to say something, and I'm not claiming to have any kind of expertise on the matter or any kind of special knowledge or inside information or anything like that. I could only talk from my own experience and things that I've seen, things that I've been told, that sort of thing. And hopefully, in some way, it helps, or at the very least, it just doesn't hinder anything. But I do feel for some reason, I don't know why I'm even feeling this way, but I do feel like I need to say something. So of these accusations, accusations of rape and sexual assault, sexual misconduct, blah 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 blah. There's been loads of them. This is like every day practically. Like somebody new is getting accused of something. It's like, really, this guy, and it's like, come on, man, really, There's been a lot, but one of the problems, and maybe not the only problem, I'm sure it's not the only problem, but one of the problems that I see is that it's very easy to say, rape is wrong, sexual assault is wrong, sexual harassment is wrong, these things are wrong. It's very easy to say that because it's true. And no one's going to disagree with that. Nobody's going to be like, well, actually, no one's going to say that. And I don't think that is what the problem is in terms of, I don't think the people who are doing it or the people who have been accused of doing it, I don't think that they don't know it's wrong. I'm pretty sure to some extent, as sure as you can be about somebody else's knowledge, but I'm pretty sure they know what they're doing or what they've been accused of doing is wrong. But they've gotten to a point where for some reason they either don't care or they just feel like they're just going to do it anyway for some reason, whether it's like they feel like they have to do it. And from my own perspective and my own experiences in life and with, women and so on, I know that I haven't always been the gentleman. I haven't always done the right thing. Some of that is down to being young and stupid. Some of that is just down to being stupid. And this isn't about, making excuses for their actions or anything like that. This isn't about trying to justify what they're doing. I'm not trying to justify what's happened, because what they've done or, what they've been accused of doing, that is a bad thing. As I say, I think we could all agree that is wrong. So I'm not trying to justify it. But what I do feel needs to happen, or one of the things I feel needs to happen, is that we do need to be more open and honest about what we are feeling and what we are thinking. And part of that are things that might make people uncomfortable. Because, I see like, some videos where people say stuff like, I don't understand why they do this, why don't they do, and I feel like that there's kind of a glossing over of certain things, and oversimplification of an issue, where it's not just about, oh well, I woke up today and felt like harassing somebody. What happens to a person that makes them do something, and I think that's what's missing here. I believe that, well, I know for myself at least, and I know some other people who have told me this, but I do believe that most, if not all of us, men, have been tempted at some point to do something like that, to touch somebody inappropriately, or to say something inappropriate. We've maybe even thought about it, or we contemplated of how it would be done. Whether it's the hot chick on the bus that sat next to you and a cleavage is all out and everything, and you take like a quick glance at her breasts, try to do it on the slide so she doesn't notice. You probably notice, but try to do it on the slide like she doesn't notice. Things like that, or even not even just the hot chick with her tits out, but it could be just some girl that you just saw that for some reason she's on your mind. These are things that enter our thoughts, and these are things that we do think about. But for most of us, it's that we think about it, and then that's all it ever is. We think about it. We don't do it. So what happens between somebody who's, say, just thinking about it to somebody who is doing it? What is that difference? That's what's causing that difference. And I'm not sure, at least I haven't seen anybody discussing that. It's just been this oversimplification of it. And I know some people talk about the whole power thing. Men want power, men want power, power. It's all about the power, 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 power. And that might be true for some of them. I wouldn't dismiss that completely. That could very well be the case for some of the people being accused. I don't think that's everybody. I mean, in the Hollywood examples, I believe it's mostly, at least, I believe it's mostly been people who have been in a position of authority to harassing somebody or abusing somebody in a position of no authority, say a new person to the business, a new actress, and so on. But those aren't the only cases just going around the world. There are examples of people who aren't in positions of authority and still harassing somebody else who may even be of a higher authority than them. That happens. So it can't only just be about the power difference. There's more to it than that, I believe. But I also believe that it's going to be different for different circumstances. So generalizations do not help at all. It can't be just this one thing because there's other things to consider. But I do think that if we are going to have any hope of solving this issue or reducing it, then it does start with being honest about what we think, about what we feel, about what we're tempted to do. I know that it's very difficult to admit certain things as a man because it might make you look like a pervert, or it might make you look like one of those guys, or one of those misogynist guys, and that could lead to being ostracized from certain groups. It's difficult to just admit that that you are tempted or that you are thinking certain things. But I do think that part of how we heal and part of how we get through this is by talking about what we're feeling and what we're thinking, even though it might make somebody uncomfortable. And that goes both ways, by the way, for men and women to be open and honest about the things that we're feeling, because there are, I know it's to a lesser extent, but there are women who have been harassing some men. Men who have been harassing men, women who've been harassing women. So I don't want to ignore that either. So whether you're a man or a woman, I think it's important that we are open about the things that we're feeling, the things that we're thinking, the things that we are tempted to do, the things that are on our mind, especially if we are getting to a point where it's going beyond just thinking about it and actually really feel like you want to do something. And also just maybe a bit more specific to men, and perhaps with some women as well. But it's, in fact, it's difficult. I was about to say it's difficult to be a man in society. Of course, it's difficult to be a woman too. But what I'm trying to get specifically is that, for a man, we are, we're, as far as society is concerned, we're supposed to be the the tough guys, we go out, we go out and we get things done. We just get on with it. We don't let things phase us. We're aggressive and we go out and we just dominate, and that's what we do. We things don't matter to us. All that stuff. We just, whatever happens, we just get on with it. That's how it's supposed to be. But then when we're doing that, it's you're not showing enough emotion. You're too aggressive. You're too toxic masculinity is the one that comes up. You're too aggressive. You're not showing enough emotion. But when we show emotion, then we're told that you're a pansy, you're a pussy, male tears, and all that whole thing. So there's very much conflicting messages in terms of how to be a man in society, and it's difficult to navigate a society when you don't really know what that society wants from you. You try to be one thing, and when you're that thing, you get told you need to be something else. When you be something else, you'll be getting accused of being this. So it's difficult to navigate that. And perhaps in some of these cases, again, I'm trying to it's not me trying to justify it, but to try to maybe hopefully put something that might click with some that leads to some kind of understanding. But perhaps in some of these cases, it's just you have this feeling of disconnect and this feeling of not really understanding your position in the world or in society, and then being in this position where now you've got money, or now you've got status, how that manifests itself. How these feelings, how the thoughts and feelings that you already had manifest themselves. It comes out in this way of, okay, well, now that I can do this, and it becomes justified in a person's mind. Perhaps that's what's happened in some cases. But yeah, I do feel that we need to be open about this is what we are thinking, this is what we are feeling, and hopefully from there we can, get it out into the world in a more constructive way than abusing somebody or harassing somebody or things along those lines. And perhaps I'm oversimplifying it myself. I'm not, as I said, I'm not claiming to know what's going on or what's doing this. All I can do is talk from the feelings and thoughts that I've had and the temptations that I've had and experiences that I've had, and what I've seen and what people have told to me, and how I'm trying to fit it all into what I've seen in with Hollywood and other places, and what might be causing it. But I do feel like we can't be shutting people down who are trying to talk and who are trying to talk about their feelings and put their emotions out there, because it's difficult. It's difficult to admit that you need help. There are resources for men and women out there who need help, but it's difficult to admit that you need help for a lot of guys, and for a lot of women as well. To be fair, it's difficult to admit that you need help, or that something is on your mind. Just seeing how people are treated when they do admit to certain things, it's often very it's very discouraging to this next person who's feeling those sorts of things. We're very quick to ostracize people for having a different viewpoint, or for thinking something, or for doing this or thinking that, and so on. There's very few of us who are willing to sort of step out and be like, okay, let's talk about this and let's try to understand it. Let's try to get you through this, and I think that needs to be happening more. Maybe that's the answer, maybe it isn't. I don't know, but certainly I don't think that would hurt, And also, I've seen a few people do these sort of very sweeping generalizations of men, saying things like, all men are pigs, or all men are this and all men are that, and so on. And I don't believe those help at all. I think anytime you make any kind of generalization of any group of people, that I believe is a hindrance to the issue. I don't see how that helps. For one thing, it can't be all men, because it's just, I mean, I know there's a lot of men in especially in Hollywood right now that have been accused of various things. But however many men that is, there's some 3.5 billion men in the world. So clearly the majority aren't doing it, and that's important to remember. It's not all men. It might be a lot of men in a certain particular area or areas, but it's not all men. But making these generalizations don't help. They don't. They just, I feel like they just make matters worse, because they fundamentally put people in a position where it's like, okay, you've defend it, and then you've been accused of so you say no, actually it's not all men, and you get accused of defending or justifying behavior. It's like, no, that's not the case. Or you go along with it, and then it's just, well, this is wrong, and that's another thing, by the way. It's very difficult to talk about these sorts of things without being accused of being an apologist, or defending certain behavior. And it's not about that. It's not about trying to justify what they've done, or apologizing for what they've done, or anything like that, or saying, oh, it makes it okay. But no, it's not. It's nothing to do with that at all. It's just, I do feel like we don't do enough to understand people who are going through issues, and when those issues lead them to lead onto them doing certain things. There's when we need to understand that maybe there is something that we can do that can prevent that from happening, and that's what I'm trying to I don't know how well I'm explaining that, but that's what I'm trying to get out there. And that maybe that's not it, in these cases. Maybe it is something else. But this is just from, as I said, my experience, what I've seen, and what I've gone through in life. That when you see somebody who is expressing something, and that thing that they're expressing isn't necessarily savory, I believe it's more productive to say, okay, well, let's talk about this, than to, oh, you're just one of those guys, and then they go off, and then you have all these other issues that they go through and then they face, and then that leads to, maybe suicide in some cases, or them lashing out at their partner in some cases, grievous bodily harm, or domestic violence, murder in some cases, or maybe and these guys, maybe once the money comes in and they're having all these feelings, thoughts and feelings they've had already, all these issues they have already, perhaps that's what's then leading them to be like, okay, well, I'm in this position, I can do this, because if I talk to her, she's going to get angry. If I don't talk to her, she's going to get angry. If I do this, she's going to get angry. So you know what? I'm just going to do it this way anyway, because I'm this position, she's in that position. So perhaps that's what's happening in some of these cases. But I do feel like it's always a danger to try and oversimplify things, or just say it's this one thing, and because it almost certainly isn't just one thing. There's many different people involved, and they're going to have different experiences, and maybe it's going to be similar experiences, similar reasons in some cases, but it's going to be different reasons in other cases, and I think it's important to try to understand that. But anyway, what do I know? I don't know if that means anything to anybody. I don't know if that helps. Hopefully it does help. Hopefully at least doesn't hinder anyway. But yeah, that's what I would say for now. Anyway, thank you for watching, and until next time, peace out.